Hello and welcome to our special program, To The Point. There has been a very horrific incident of Naxal attack in Chhattisgarh yet again, targeting the political convoy of the Congress party which was returning from a political rally in the state. Almost 24 people were killed and several others were injured. Once again raising the question as to how to tackle this menace of Naxalism. We have with us today a special guest, Mr. E N Rammohan, a former IPS officer who served in insurgency hit areas such as Northeast and Jammu and Kashmir, and also was the man who inquired into another dastardly incident of Naxalite attack in Dantewada, in which 75 CRPF personnel were killed. So, welcome to our show. Let me straight away begin with this particular incident which happened in Chhattisgarh. Several questions have been raised and they are yet to be answered. A probe is already ordered by the central government through NIA, the National Investigative Agency is going ahead with the probe. But coming to the basics of operating in Naxal affected areas, you've been the man on the ground out there and in other insurgency hit areas as well. What seems to have gone wrong?
The first thing that I will say is, particularly after the last Dantewada incident, CRPF was given a very, very good DG, Vijay Kumar, and he has really thoroughly reorganized the force and trained them up very well. So now in any insurgents area, if movement is to take place, for example, if there is a road passing through a hilly forested tract, which is a home ground for insurgents, and there is intelligence that insurgents are moving in this area, so it is not possible for a force which is deployed in such a vast area to ensure that every square foot is controlled. It's not possible. Where the post is located, an area around the post can be sanitized. Another post may be 15 kilometers away, that area can be sanitized in that immediate vicinity. In between is an area which is open. So whenever there is any movement of a convoy or vehicles, two things are always done in such areas. Now I am not speaking through my hat. I have done this on the ground in the Northeast, in Manipur, in Nagaland, in Assam and in Kashmir. Kashmir, there is a convoy of the army consisting of about 30 to 40 vehicles, which used to move every day from the army base in Srinagar and go right up to the Banihal Pass, which is a distance of about 40 to 50 kilometers. Morning convoy used to leave at about 7 in the morning. Our return convoy comes around, crosses the pass at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a long ROP which is laid, anti-sabotage check done of this 40-50 kilometers of road, in which BSF used to participate, and this is a daily feature. I think it's only on Sundays that the convoys now used to go. So this road opening party is done on the ground. Now in this particular area, this route which has been taken by this Congress party in their own convoy of 30 or 40 vehicles, there is no problem about the number of vehicles. The only thing is that two things must be done to sanitize the area before the convoy moves. So the first question you ask is whether the Congress party informed the state government, which means the Deputy Commissioner and the Superintendent of Police. And if he was informed, did the Superintendent of Police tell the CRPF battalion which is attached to him? There must be one battalion at least which is attached to him. And if he was informed, did he put an ROP and did he do an anti-sabotage check of the road? The ROP is a road opening party which has to move an extended line on either side of the road, well ahead of the movement of the convoy. They will clear the jungle on either side so no ambush can be placed. Then they will occupy all the high points on it so that they dominate the area. Once they are in place, it's impossible for an ambush to be put.
So basically you mean to say that there must have been a communication, either there must have been a communication.
I do not know, because if there was an ROP in place and if an anti-sabotage check of this road has been carried out, the anti-sabotage check will be done only after the ROP is in place, because they themselves may be ambushed. So if it is checked for explosives and it's cleared, then only should the convoy have been allowed to go. Now, as of now, my feeling is that I do not know whether the district police was informed, but I know only one thing. So far, the press and in the TV, there is no mention of any road opening party or any anti-sabotage check having been done. So my conclusion is that this is not done. Now, whether they were informed or not, I do not know.
So the standard operating procedure seems to have not been followed.
Has not been followed.
Well, one very important question is the fact that there was an incident in Dantewada in which 75 CRPF.
No, that was something which was within the force. Outsiders were not involved in it. No, it was a negligence of the force itself. But unfortunately, Home Ministry has not published that report. So I'm sorry, I cannot speak about it.
So there are no similarities between that particular incident.
That is entirely a different incident. That was a foot patrol which went at night domination patrol. This is a convoy passing through at speed also on the road. It's all on vehicles. They were entirely on foot, the whole lot. And it was a night domination patrol. They went at night. It's a different story entirely.
Basically, laxity somewhere on the part of either the security
No,
agencies.
there were a lot of mistakes which they committed. That's why they paid for it. You see, a force which is moving at night should be very alert. And there are so many tactics involved in night domination patrols, how you go about it. Obviously, they must have.
In this particular case, in which several top leaders of the Congress state unit perished, including the state chief as well as Mr. Mahendra Karma, all those who were high net worth individuals as far as Naxalites are concerned, they were traveling in the convoy. Some of them were given Z category security. Even then, this particular incident happens means there is something grossly wrong at the ground level implementation.
I don't know at which level it is, because if the party has informed the district administration, then the party is not at fault. But if the district administration has not been informed, then you really can't blame them. But if they had come to know of their own that this party is going to move, they should have told them that you don't go until we clear the area and we give you the okay. I don't know whether this has happened or not, because so far nothing of this has come out anywhere. It is now 3-4 days now.
One very important question which I want to ask you out here is, if we look at the incidents of Naxalite violence in these areas, be it Chhattisgarh, be it parts of Andhra Pradesh, some parts of Maharashtra as well, some incidents have occurred, even in Jharkhand.
No, Gadchiroli area is Naxalite affected.
So what we see, the trend which is being seen is that there what you call it, TCOC or tactical counter offensive operations, these happen mostly during summers, the time period between April and June, or we say March, between March and July, to make it a little more broader. Why is it that the Naxalites plan to go ahead
I can't understand why it should be in summer. It can also be in winters. In fact, in winters it's much better. It's dry and it's cool. In summers it is extremely hot. Moving to the jungle will be very difficult also. I don't know why it happens in summer. I cannot make out any reason for it.
So no.
Obviously, it cannot happen during the rainy season, because movement in the jungle on foot is difficult in the rainy season. And probably convoys may not be able to go on Kacha roads also. They get bogged down.
Yeah, because if you look at the incidents, even the Dantewada incident happened in summers. This incident has happened in summers. Gadchiroli incident also happened during the summer.
I cannot really. I do not know why specifically in summer, the dry summer particularly, because it's a very difficult period. It's extremely hot. You'll have to carry 2-3 bottles of water, each person who has to move on foot in the jungle. So there will be more Adam required for the guerrilla party. I don't understand why they do it at this time.
We will continue with this discussion, and we'll definitely go ahead and ask you, since you have been the person who has put in a report on one of the scariest incident in Naxal violence which has happened, as to how these particular incidents can be checked, what can be done. But before that, we'll take a short break here. Welcome back. We still have Mr. E N Rammohan with us, the decorated IPS officer who's been, in charge of several counterinsurgency operations in northeast Jammu Kashmir, and as also, as I was mentioning earlier, was the man who prepared a report on the why and how of the Dantewada incident. Sir, apart from what could have went wrong in this particular incident and what, as you were mentioning, in Dantewada incident as well, it brings us to the second question as to why is this happening, as in the increase or the spurt in the increase of Naxalite violence. In the recent past, we've seen that the incidents had gone down considerably, specifically in this area if you do a comparative study. But then they seem to have made a comeback, and this time around, this was more or less targeted at the political activists.
It's obviously targeted at the political activists because they are the root of this problem. Let's understand.
That's how the Naxalites look at it.
No, not only the Naxalites. Everybody should look at it like that, because I'll explain it right now. You see, whenever you have an insurgency, the first thing that the government should ask is, why have civilians taken to the gun? Ordinary civilian will not take to the gun. He is either farming his land, or he is working in a factory, or he is doing some clerical job or office job. He goes to by some conveyance to his office, comes back, his children go to school, comes back, he sits at home, he watches TV. That is the normal life. Why do such people take to the gun and go and hide in a jungle and ambush the government, either politicians or police or somebody? There must be one very severe, very strong reason why a civilian who does not even know what a gun is suddenly takes to the gun and starts getting himself trained in guerrilla warfare and attacking the government. So somewhere the government has gone wrong. What is this? In this particular case, this is the cause of this insurgency. And there are three players in this game. One is the tribal, the Adivasi tribal, who is at the bottom of the social caste system in this country. The Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaisya, Shudra, and the tribal is further down below. The second player is the Maoist. Everybody talks about Naxalite. Naxalite is just a word from Naxalbari, where one of the communist revolutions took place. Naxalbari was a village near Darjeeling, down in the plains. But actually it is communism. And communists have been working in these areas right from 1946. In Tibaga movement in North Bengal, in Telangana in 1946, they were working because the lower caste people were not getting their rights on agriculture and their rights in the forest. Basically they were working with agricultural peasants. So when the constitution was framed after we got independence, two particular articles of the constitution are important. First one is the 5th schedule, which was debated and passed. The 5th schedule says that all scheduled areas of the country, which means all reserved forests in the country, will be administered by the governors, which means it will not be administered by the state government. Forest is a state subject. So the governor is supposed to appoint a tribes advisory council consisting of the tribes living in that particular scheduled area. So if in a particular state there are 30 reserve forests, there are 30 tribal areas. From all these 30 tribal areas, he will select people. They can put up their people. A panchayat will be elected, which means the local people, forest tribes, they will themselves elect. For example, if there is 100 people in 2 villages, one man is to be elected, those 100 people will elect a man. This will form a panchayat. So the whole state will have a panchayat of tribal people elected from different places. If it so happens that one of these tribals happens to be an MLA, so moto he will be a member of the panchayat. That is the only concession.
That's what the 5th schedule says.
5th schedule says. Yeah. Now the governor will administer this area with that panchayat. The panchayat will decide how this area is to be developed, where roads are to be constructed, where schools are to be made, where hospitals are to be done, and then the concerned departments of the government will do it under the direction of the panchayat. So if minerals are to be excavated in this particular area, it is a panchayat who will deal with the mining company and sign the lease with them. The state government has no business to sign a lease for mining minerals in a 5th schedule area as per the law of the land and the constitution of the land. This has not been observed right from 1950 till date. No governor has appointed a tribes advisory council. No panchayat has been formed. The state government has merely leased areas of the forest to mining companies. They have mined the area and evicted the tribals from this area. All illegal, unlawful actions. So when you do such, government does such illegal actions, there will be naturally a reaction. And the reaction is guerrilla warfare. And now the Adivasi has not organized it. This is where the communists have stepped in. So the real enemy is the Maoist. Now let us be very clear. I do not know who wants a Maoist government, but I am very clear in my mind that I don't want a Maoist government. I want a healthy democracy where people are elected. And they have an assembly and a parliament and they decide the laws. And the laws are enforced. In the Maoist system, nobody is elected. They have their own elections within the party and somebody becomes the president and the council of ministers and then they administer the land.
So you mean to say it's basically a socio-economic problem? It started as a socio-economic problem.
Yes.
Now it's not only you who says it's a socio-economic problem. Even the activists, even the experts, even other experts, even the government, the Prime Minister himself, as time and again says that this is a socio-economic problem.
Why
we need to look
why is the President of India, the government of India, why are they silent about the utilization of the 5th schedule? Nobody is speaking about the 5th schedule. What happens to it? From the constitution it is just thrown into the dustbin. Why have the Maoists stepped into this vacant space created by the government? By not taking action as per the constitution of India. This is the problem. Everybody keeps talking about Andhra Pradesh and how the the greyhounds which have been raised by them have been so successful. Yeah. What have they been successful? All the Adivasis who are operating there, CPM, they found this force so good that they all fled to Chhattisgarh and they have done the job in Chhattisgarh now. Do you think they have solved the problems in Andhra? I was in Hyderabad as DIG CBI, my batchmate was DIG Intelligence, and since I have some knowledge of counterinsurgency from the northeast, he asked me, can you advise us on this? So I studied the problem. That is when I studied the problem. I did not know. At that time, I don't even remember the 5th schedule at that time. But I found one thing, that the 9th schedule of the Constitution, which says that cultivable land is inequitably distributed. The upper castes have cornered all the cultivable land. And that is the main problem in Andhra Pradesh. So I understood the land ceiling laws were legislated as per the 9th schedule. By 1955, every state in India has legislated land ceiling laws. Only 3 states have enforced the land ceiling laws. The others have just kept it in the statute books. I don't know what for, to worship it 3 times a day, God knows. Kashmir did it under Sheikh Abdullah. West Bengal did it when there was a communist ministry along with the Congress. Jyoti Basu was the home minister, he enforced it. When they did it, the Jyotidars who are landlords in West Bengal, they got together because all of them had illegal land as per the land ceiling, so in surplus. They never surrendered their lands. So they started bribing the district officials, the revenue officials, clerks and others, and fudging records, creating fictitious names and showing the land in those fictitious names. Suppose one of the Jyotidars had 20 acres and he was only allowed 3 acres as per the land ceiling, 17 were shown in fictitious names.
So basically these things have not been implemented.
Somebody detected this, he filed a petition in the court, in the local court. The court called for the records and ordered that this man should get his 2 acres of land. When he went to take 2 acres of land, the Jyotidars Gundas beat him up. That was the thing that triggered off the spark that triggered off the Naxalbari revolution. That is why it's called Naxalbari and Naxalites. Actually, it is communist CPI-ML at that time. ML has now become Maoist. And the problem in Andhra Pradesh is that no land ceiling law has been enforced. The force which has been raised, the greyhounds, by their excellent tactics and fieldcraft have controlled the thing. All the Maoist cadres have fled to Chhattisgarh. The silence of the grave is there in Andhra Pradesh. Everybody is crowing that, oh, we have succeeded in Andhra Pradesh. Greyhounds has done the job. What job have they done? They have cleared the area. They have not distributed land. I met the revenue minister, Mr. Janardhan Reddy, when I was there because my batchmate asked me to go and meet him. So when he saw me, he said, you have some experience of government. I said, yes. I told him the same thing, that why have civilians taken to the ground? There is a reason. So he said, what is the reason? I said, you are not enforcing the land ceiling. He said, land ceiling? We can never enforce it. This is the revenue minister of the state saying.
So basically, you want to say
why are you shouting that the Maoists have hijacked this? You have allowed them to hijack it.
So basically, you mean to say that the initial firefighting by the security forces has been done in certain places, specifically if you were pointing out Andhra Pradesh, but the actual root cause of the problem
has not been
addressed so
that's
far.
What I'm saying. No?
There is
the silence of the grave in Andhra Pradesh, nothing else.
We will.
You have simply put the lid on it. And sitting on it, the greyhounds are sitting on it.
Interesting phrase you're pointing out, silence of the grave. We'll continue this discussion. We'll go ahead and ask you as to what can be the solution now, since you've already pointed it out several times to your colleagues, as you were saying, you suggested to them. We will go ahead and continue the discussion in the next part, in the next segment of our program. But before that, let's take a short break here. Welcome back. Mr. E N Rammohan is still with us, and we are having a very interesting question answer session with him on the issue of Naxalite problem, which he specifically says is more or less, he prefers to call it a Maoist problem, which obviously is not wrong. So coming to the final part of it, we've spoken about what could have went wrong in certain specific incidents, including the recent one, and then you pointed out very elaborately as to why all this has become a problem. Why are Adivasis up in arms, collaborating with Maoists? It brings us to the final question, and it's very, I would say, might be a little difficult to go ahead and answer, and more difficult to go ahead and implement, if you say so.
But then difficult. The answer is very clear.
But then the question is,
it is in CinemaScope and color by Technicolor.
That's what I'm saying.
But nobody is willing to see it.
That's what I'm saying. The question is that where lies the solution? You're talking about 5th schedule. You're saying that certain specific steps which should have been taken by the successive governments, be it at the center, be at the state levels, have not been taken. Land Ceiling Act, looking at the 5th schedule. Many politicians, almost all of them point out, and now specifically almost all of them point out that it is a socio-economic problem. But then the governments and strategists time and again also say that there has to be a two-pronged strategy. My first question is, will the two-pronged strategy work? Because taking the case of Andhra Pradesh, greyhounds, they successfully managed to contain the Maoist insurgency out there, managed to push them away.
Actually, it was not contained because of their excellent quality of fieldcraft and tactics. They outbeat them. In fieldcraft and tactics, they outbeat the Maoists. So they all fled to Chhattisgarh, the jungles of Chhattisgarh. And this Salva Judam wretched thing was created only at that time. Because they all went there and they tried to enthuse the local tribals of Chhattisgarh to do what they were doing in Andhra Pradesh. And those tribals said, no, we don't want to fight. So what has been done in Andhra is only just success of the thing because of their quality of performance. The original problem has not been touched. That's what I said, no? Then Andhra, it's the silence of the grave.
So if you're looking at the way it is being talked about, the two-pronged strategy, one prong is to go ahead and contain the insurgency through security forces, or the way the greyhounds have been successful in pushing them away. But then do you say that the second part of the solution is really important, going back to the basics, putting socio-economic parameters in place out there?
You are not going to solve this problem unless you implement the laws of the land and give rights to these people. If you keep on saying that they are at the bottom of this, they don't say that, but they do it because they are at the bottom of this social scale. They don't openly say, nobody will openly say that we are putting them under our heels. They will not say that. The government has to do two things. First of all, understand very clearly that the Maoists are the enemy of the country. The Adivasis are not enemy of this country. They are the poorest and most deprived citizens of this country. As long as you have this caste oppression, you will have this problem. So you must give them their rights which has been given to them in the Constitution of India and the laws of the land. So you only have to cordon off a certain area, set up a tribes Panchayat council there, ask the governor to do it, let them negotiate with the companies for mining that area, and let the benefits of that mining go to them, not to some private accounts in Swiss banks, through the companies. Simultaneously, you will see to it that the Maoists will not come in. And when the Adivasis find out from different parts of the state that in this particular section, which is completely now enclosed by security forces, they are not able to get inside, the whole system has changed and they are getting their rights. They will abandon those Maoists and come running back and say, please give us the same thing in our segments also. This is the way to solve this problem.
But then, given the present situation where Maoists are in control of most parts, most areas, the administration does not have a reach. Isn't it really important as of now to have a tactical edge over them by pushing them away?
That is not difficult to have. You train your force properly, you will have control of the area. Because it's such a vast area, you cannot afford to take out the BSF from the borders and deploy all of them there. Do it step by step. But first of all, at least as a kind of sample plot, take an area of say 50 acres, 100 acres, 50 villages or 20 villages. Let them have the Tribes Advisory Council as per the 5th schedule, as per the Panchayat Extension Scheduled Areas Act. Let the Adivasis select their own mining company to mine their land and let them get the profit of it. See, the problem is this wretched Swiss bank account. Let them get the benefit of it. They are entitled to it as per the laws of the land. Once you do it, the news will spread that in this area, government has gotten this area and has given the rights to the people living there. The Adivasis there will leave the Maoists high and dry and say, give us the same thing. This is the only way to cut the Maoists out of this game. So because I am very clear, you don't want this Maoist government here. We want a democracy here. But we want an honest democracy. We are having a dishonest democracy right now.
So both the tactical part as well as the developmental part will have to go hand in hand.
Yes,
you cannot have one thing moving ahead, a little further ahead, and then the second one being left behind.
To implement this 5th schedule and see that the Panchayats are successful, because Maoists will, once they find that you are giving credence to the Panchayats and you are setting them up, they will try to disrupt it because they have got a different objective. Their objective is to capture power. They will start taking revenge against the Adivasis who are joining the government in this game. So it's not going to be simple, it's going to be difficult.
And venting their ire at the political activists as well. That's what exactly has happened in this particular case. They have their own high net worth individuals.
But the only way to cut out the Maoists from this whole game is as per this scenario.
Okay, so that's what the crux of the situation is. We will have to go ahead and ensure that the tactical efforts are being made to go ahead and push them back or gain control of those particular areas and then administer those areas effectively as per the laws, give tribals their due and ensure that they have that a standard of living which is due to them.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your time. So this was Mr. E N Rammohan, who was telling us as to what are the root causes of this particular problem of Naxalite violence and what can be done. We'll come back next week with a different issue and a different personality. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.